Thank you, everybody. I'm Jay Nix. I am the beamline director for the Molecular Biology Consortium, but also a happy member of the ALS-ENABLE team. Today, instead of going through each beamline and all of its capabilities, we thought we'd just give you an overview of all of the beamlines and the capabilities, because frankly, they are very similar. But I asked our beamline scientists and leads for each of our technology centers to give a little taste of what is offered beyond the normal that we do, and hopefully inspire you to use more than just standard MX. But most importantly, we're here to show you how to get time. And Andy Jones from our user's office will help walk you through that. So ALS-ENABLE is a mature synchrotron research grant from the P30. We use this money to support our general users, improve our beamlines, but not only general users to MX, but we also offer biosacks and footprinting, which Greg Hura and Corey Ralston will be speaking about later. Our beamlines are different in many respects, but they all do much the same thing. Some of the differences, though, are some of the beamlines that Mark will be talking about, Mark Lair from the BCSB, actually offer fully automated data collection. There are collaborative crystallography projects spread between a number of the sectors. James Holton has a strong room temperature data collection program. He can also, at 831, actually do plate data collections and plate screening, which I don't believe is offered anywhere else in the MX at the ALS. We'll also be joined by Bonnie Shankaran, who will tell us a little bit about the collaborative crystallography projects. And I'd like to move on now, just to mention that on the left-hand graph, basically this is the number of publications from 2017 to 2020. These are raw numbers. Nothing's been put towards like per beamline or anything like that. But what you can see is that big orange graph that dominates, or big orange line that dominates the graph, that's the APS. And that's all going away next week, which kind of explains why we're here right now and how to help you guys get your data collected as we go into this dark period. On the right, you can see how the ALS stacks up as far as, you know, the high profile papers per resource. And that's something we always like to bring up, because the ALS was built as a low energy light source, but by the addition of wigglers, undulators, and superbends, we've been very productive in the high energy range. And so what we'll be talking about today is, of course, macromolecular crystallography to get our atomic resolution structures. We have 7 beamlines. It's funded by industry, HHMI, the NIH, and various universities. Small angle scattering at the Sybil's beamline 12311. Greg Hura will be telling us about, and how we can actually look at bomb molecules in solution, and how we can combine that with crystallography and soft X-ray tomography. And I have 10. And Corey will join us tell us about X-ray footprinting, which is just ramping up and is very exciting. And I'll tell you a little bit about our participating research teams. The PRTs, this is how the individual beamlines are funded at the ALS. And we're made up of academic and industry partners. And they have guaranteed beam time of 75%, and we offer 25% to general users. The BCSB and HHMI in sectors 2, 5, and 8, the MBC in 422, and Tom Albertron with UCSF at 831. So how do we get access? General users can go through the general user proposals that Andy will walk us through. It's administered by the advanced light source, and you can either make proposals for 6 months or put in rapid proposals, which will generally be given time within about a month's time, sometimes faster. One of the things that's a good idea, that's a refrain from this talk, will be contact a beamline scientist. We'll help you get through the things and get you through as expeditiously as possible. These general user proposals are merit-based and peer-reviewed. So that also adds a little bit more time to it. For those proprietary research users that would like to use the ALS, this requires a proprietary agreement with the ALS first, and it does incur some costs for reimbursement of the photons to the DOE. The general user proposals, absolutely free. And once again, for those that would like to bypass the whole peer review process, the PRTs have guaranteed time to our users, and we can assign that time as we see fit without having to go through the peer review process. Here's the contact information for each of the PRTs or the individual beamlines. Just wanted to have a picture of this since we're recording, and these slides will be available soon on our website. So just a general overview of the MX beamlines at the Advanced Light Source. There's 7 of them. The latest one Mark will be talking about, TL1, is from an undulator source. Sector 5 is from wigglers, and sectors 4, 8, and 8 are off superbands. I'm not going to go into flux. I think James has very good things to talk about that, but generally they're in the 5 to 10 to 11 to 5 to 10 to the 12th range. Plenty of photons to get what you need. We have different ways of focusing our beam size at the various beam lines. In 821, we use fixed size apertures at 30, 50, and 100 microns. The BCSB beam lines also have constantly variable collimators where you could dial it from 10 to 20 microns up to 150 to 200 microns. We could do the same thing on 422. I'll talk about pucks and robotics coming up and sample capacity you can see there. The main thing I wanted to say though is that all of the beamlines at the ALS are now upgraded to some type of shuttleless data collection technology. Most of them are made by Dectris. We have the Pilatus 6Ms, 2Ms, the Eiger 2 9M. 422 has a CMOS-based shuttleless detector. The frame rates that you see on there are for the detectors. Talk to the beamline scientists about what's an appropriate frame rate to use at the individual beamline. Like I said, we have robotics in all of the beamlines, both for on-site or remote use, also for collaborative crystallography. All of the beamlines can handle the unipucks or ALS pucks, and we strongly recommend using these pucks because they're the easiest to get loaded at all of our beamlines. It also makes access easier since if you're putting in a rapid proposal, we will try and find the most appropriate beamline for you to use. And part of that depends on what pucks you're sending your samples in. 422, 821, and 822, in addition to the ALS and unipucks, can also use the Rigaku actor pucks. Additionally, 831 can use SSR cassettes as well as ALS pucks and unipucks. James wanted me to include that we can also use, you can also send us samples via vials, even with plastic caps, we can get them up there. I put 422 on there reluctantly because I don't want to encourage this too much, but I will say if you send it to me, I will get them loaded, but I will not do plastic caps. We'll have to use the standard metal bases. But if you want to bring them on site, go ahead, knock yourself out. The beamlines can also handle all of these standard bases that you could get from a Hampton or Mighty Jet. I will say this, spine pins cause the most problems for the different robots because it is a slightly different size. And the shoulders on, the ones with the shoulders can cause problems in, well, I know in sector 8 and sector 4, we've had problems. And so, yeah, that's a general overview of what we'll be talking about today. And next up, we'll be talking about technology developments and what's going on within the ALS-ENABLE team.